Hey, welcome. So, welcome everybody today to today's Fireside Virtual Chat at Brand Innovators. Today, I'm joined by Leslie Taylor, as aforementioned, who's the Global Director of Marketing for Gensler, a company that partners and delivers architecture, design, and planning to today's leading companies globally. Firstly, unique times we find ourselves in, and regardless of the business type, when it comes to marketing and advertising solutions, and looking for unique ways to reach and engage with clients, companies like yourself, I'm sure, have gone through major transformations during this period and new strategies on how to communicate with clients moving forward. And today, hopefully, we're going to go through quite a few of those initiatives with Leslie, and she can give us her insights on how she's operating a marketing division globally during this. So let's begin. Firstly, I'm very pleased, Leslie, to be speaking with you. Huge fan of the company and what you guys are doing in your transformation with design and architecture globally. Big fan. So firstly, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role for Gensler for those watching who might not be familiar.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jamie. I'm really pleased to be here with you. If our warm-up yesterday isn't any indication, someone's going to have to shut us up at the end of this. But I have the pleasure of leading marketing for Gensler, and what that really looks like is, as mentioned, I really operate at where the brand meets our clients, as well as our people. And so we really look at communications quite holistically. I would say with our client base being completely global, I actually think, and maybe this is shifting gears into high speed around the conversation around the pace of change right now. I was actually reflecting this morning that if COVID has done anything for us as a marketing community, it's actually likely made us more global than we ever have been. I think what I mean by that is, for us, we have 50 offices around the globe. And now we say we actually have 6,000 offices around the globe because all of our people went home. And what that did was it completely blurred boundaries for us. Now where I may have been based in San Francisco and have physically seen my colleagues in the Bay Area, now I'm actually seeing people around the world more often than I ever have, because it's now where we're orienting. It's just the norm now to be on a 7 a.m. call with my friends in London and those who have from Asia who are rock stars because they generally stay up very late for us here in the US. And so it is actually a really interesting time for communications at large.
Yes, no, it truly is. We see that here on our side as well, being a global office. I find myself often late night calls to Asia, early morning calls to EMEA. So with you there. So another question that I just want to ask you is, with this evolution of your organization and resources since going kind of remote, what are you doing now in-house for marketing and strategy versus pre-pandemic? And who are you leveraging to help you get there? Is it external agencies, or is it a new type of partnerships that you've partnered with to help you get through this?
Yeah, such a good question. For us in particular, it's interesting. We are a large design firm. And, as I mentioned, we have, a number of offices and 6,000 people. Our marketing teams do operate a bit more like a startup. We're a bit of a lean, mean team. And that's both where I sit in the central organization, as well as our teams that are locally on the ground within our offices. I would say what has changed, during 2020 and all of the global challenges that we've faced in 2020. What has changed hasn't really been that we've outsourced anything. I would say we have rapidly evolved and responded as these lean, mean teams to what we believe is how we need to better communicate with our clients. And so, an example of that is we've always done content marketing. We've always done heavily relied on leading with thought leadership because for us as a professional services firm, leading with thought leadership to show our expertise, our subject matter expertise to our clients is really how we connect with the clients, and that leads to that journey that we take with them. Now it has to be much faster, much more responsive. What happened, what we spoke about last week may actually be irrelevant this week, or it may have completely changed. And so I would say our team's response to that is just moving faster. We suddenly are doing email marketing in a far different way. What it means across our organization internally is that it's actually, I think, one of the coolest parts of what we do is we're now collaborating with our technology teams in a far more collaborative way than we ever have, because we need them on the data side, we need them on the tool side. So I would honestly say our team's growth, both as a team and individually, has been tremendous in the past 6 months.
Have you been leveraging during this time any new forms of technology that are bringing communications, CRM, CSMs together?
I think many share a similar story, that we had been trudging along with various technologies up until this point, potentially even dealing with change management issues. And this time has been a catalyst for those technologies. So we had a lot of systems in place already. And I would say now we are actually optimizing them. And that's been probably one of the greatest gifts of this time, is now truly using those systems that you described, CRM, marketing automation. It's catalyzed what we're doing with those. It's made us so much smarter than we were before.
So how are you thinking about your customer now? Now as in like the new normal, as you're saying. Has that changed?
I think it's been enriched. Gensler has 10 guiding principles that we truly operate by. One of our core guiding principles is that it all begins and ends with our clients. And so if anything, every move that we've made throughout this process has been keeping our clients at the center. And if you think about that, I'll just using ourselves as an example, as an architecture firm, when everybody went to work from home, our clients, rightfully so, their first question was, how are we going to maintain business continuity on our projects? You're designing our projects. Are you guys able to work in the cloud? Are you able to, continue to deliver on our scope of work that we have with you, with people from home? And so we had to figure out how to communicate that and instill trust. And that's built on a foundation that we've had with our clients, always having them at the center. And so I think that also was our North Star as we were crafting our marketing strategies through this, of how we're going to communicate. So it wasn't about selling by any means. It was about continuing to instill trust that we were going to be able to help our clients through this unprecedented time.
Has that had an effect on the type of media mix now that you're using within the company versus pre-pandemic? Have you changed the types of media and types of platforms used to communicate with clients and engage?
Yeah, I would say it's more about channel strategy. That's probably what's changed more than anything. We're pretty straightforward with what we use for a media mix, and we don't particularly do advertising or media buying or anything along that lines, and instead we depend highly on owned, earned, some paid media, but not truly a lot. And so for us, what we have seen is results from engagement on that content. So it's giving us the signals that we are in fact putting out content that is, being highly consumed, actively engaged with. And it says to us that we're on the right track with what our clients need to hear from us, what our audience needs to hear from us.
Right. And on that messaging, I know us as a company during the pandemic, we've really become a partner to brands and agencies globally, helping them figure out what type of messaging and tone you should be using during this time, so you're not mute to the situation.
That's right.
And you're not putting your brand in an environment that can be seen negatively. Have you, what changes have you made, if any, to your narrative, your tone, and how you're presenting who you are today and how you can be a solution provider?
Well, I think one of the words that you just used was extremely important, can't be underscored enough, and that was partner, partnership. And so I think that that authenticity of message, where you are serving a purpose to your clients as a partner, as a trusted advisor, has certainly been at the center of what we're doing. I think also we really believe that all ships rise in the industry as we're having these conversations. If you think about, and Jamie, you and I riffed on this a bunch yesterday. If you think about the implications of returning back to life, you can fill that in so many ways, like returning to the office, returning to movie theaters. We just saw that, there's a big movie launch today. How are people going to feel in the theaters? All of that has design implication. And you can look at that in so many levels. And so for us, being a leader in the design industry and having a voice around the power of design within that returning to life, that's important, that we're speaking on behalf of an industry and beginning a conversation where truly all ships rise, because in the end, this is about, not to get, too overly cheesy, but this is about us returning to a better world than we left when we went home.
Yes, we chatted about this yesterday, and I think it is an interesting topic because you service businesses globally, and with that, the return to work is such a big thing in all of our industries, and you're kind of at the epicenter of it, because there are businesses global and locally who are like, okay, we can return to work, we can start to bring employees back gradually into offices, into retail. What does that look like now? And is that going to change again post-COVID, or are we building for a new future? And so, I know we're asking those questions ourselves as a company. And so, that must have opened up a whole new world of strategy and conversation and narrative for your company in that thought leadership space to come up and be like, hey, we hear this, and yes, it is going to be a change. And we talked yesterday about nobody wants to return to work in a hospital environment. I think that's how we calculated it. It's like in a screen with masks and gloves and sanitizers surrounding us. And all of that is like a vision that a lot of people have in their head of returning back to work.
Yeah.
But employers are now thinking, look, we have to think beyond that. We have to look at what is the new back to work schedule look like? What does space look like? Social distancing. And that really taps into design and architecture, again, for these companies. So how have you been trying to communicate that messaging and get that out as a thought leader and as a company that can partner and help you navigate this?
Yeah. So, at the conversation is human experience.
Yeah.
And so we really have to, and it's, as a marketer, that's at the heart of our conversation as well, is meeting that, meeting the human on the other end of the message. It's as a firm, we have a very robust, we actually have a Gensler Research Institute. I have the pleasure of being a partner with that institute. And for a content marketer, what a gift that we actually have a group that's focused on true research, valuable research that actually is able to drive our communication strategy. So when we're talking about something, we're actually able to lean into statistically significant data that supports a point of view that can really drive the conversation. And so it's not anecdotal, it's not subjective, although we vet in as well. And so to think about what that means for us to try to lead this conversation, and again, think about it from all ships rising, thinking about it from how we improve the human experience overall. We're able to take really important data points. For example, understanding that people do want to return to the office. That in fact, based on our research, only 12% of people don't want to return to the office. However, they cannot return to the same office. It has to be an improved experience. It has to be a space that they trust. And so from a communications opportunity, It's how do we get out thought leadership that gives our clients, enough information that they need. We also, of course, want to continue that conversation with them one-on-one. So to me, that becomes a really compelling opportunity for us to communicate. It really drives our purpose as a firm, because it is about, ensuring that this future world is one that's focused on wellness and well-being, on social equity, on climate change, all of these things that have really hit us over the head in this year.
They certainly have. And that leads me to another question. During these times, a lot of companies, and their marketing strategies are looking, okay, how do we market to our existing client base to inform them that, hey, we're still open, we're still working, we're still there, and we're still able to provide full 360 service to you. But has that changed how you are now looking for new clients? Because, every business you have your existing, and then there's always a new acquisition marketing strategies. Has how you look to market to a new client changed during this time?
Yeah, I don't, it's interesting to know that it necessarily has changed, although I would say what our opportunity has been is to position ourselves, for services that one may not have looked to us before. When again, using design as that example, I think that what we know is that companies all over the world are reinventing themselves right now because they have to. Just previously before us was Marriott, and the reinvention that they're going through right now is tremendous. For that's an opportunity for us all to think about not only are we reinventing ourselves, maybe it's not reinvention, maybe it's evolution, but our clients, our customers are likely going through that reinvention. So what does that give us an opportunity to position ourselves for with them? I think you shared stories with Shutterstock, and what you guys are doing right now in terms of like responding to that reinvention that your customers are going through. And so to me, that's that incredible opportunity that we as marketers are in the center of, is that new positioning.
Next question is, we're seeing in the marketplace ourselves, Shutterstock, obviously supplying creative and advertising strategies to clients globally. We've seen them change, pre-COVID, during COVID, it's been much more of a one-to-one connection, much more community, much more citizenship, messaging, which has really helped businesses communicate internally with employees and externally, and not start to promote things that are not necessarily going to be able to take action in the next week or the week before. So travel industries, hotel industries, leisure industries, it's hard for them to predict the future of when we can get back to full marketing strategy and go big. From your standpoint, are you looking to change your 2021 overall marketing initiatives based on this year? That, what if, God forsake, pandemic comes back again in another phase? Are you preparing your marketing in case of that? Or are you preparing just holistically and being able to pivot, if circumstances change again?
I think we're pivoting right now. It's almost like you can't wait to have the conversation for 2021 we're talking about right now. And I would say our plan for marketing has changed already, 3 times over in just a 6-month period. And that is because you have to be in tune or attuned with your audience to understand how they're receiving information. I mean, we talk about content fatigue, we talk, webinar fatigue, the fact that we're all going to have 3 eyes by the end of this Zoom journey that we're on, or the webinars. What does that mean on how we're delivering and connecting to our audience? I think what we should all be discovering is that how you cut through the noise is with good content. And how you get to good content is understanding. It's like the fundamentals. It's understanding your audience and crafting a message that will reach them in a way that will reach them. And so, it's like we're not trying to blow the roof off the marketing house, but instead get real focused on the basics and stay attuned to any data and insights that you can get from it, and really work to deliver good messages to your people, to your audience.
Yeah, I agree. We're seeing a lot of clients and brands globally of ours have completely changed how they communicate and the types of format. We're seeing less 30-second traditional spots being made during this period of time. We're seeing less promotion and sell during this time. It's more of like communicating, hey, we see, hear you, we're there, and we're here to help and serve. It's much more of a softer sell, but what it's actually doing is making companies become more creative and more brand storytelling.
Right.
And so that's leading them into new areas of, telling stories about their brand and how they can help and how they can partner locally as well as globally. From a brand storytelling standpoint, do you see that that's something that's going to develop for you in the short, mid, and long term, telling larger stories from a thought leadership standpoint to the industry that you're in? Do you think the format of the creative is going to change somewhat for you moving forward?
Yeah, I think that we're certainly understanding that there are some muscles that we have not built or even leveraged as much as we have in the past. We're such a visual industry, right? We're in design, we're the center of it, and I think that us really being able to tell stories in a more robust way, thinking about video, but not in the traditional sense. What does video look like? What does it feel like? I think that is an opportunity for us to storytell that way. And I think that going back to that channel strategy, that becomes really important for how do we get people to click and stay and watch. In terms of like even content marketing, how do you get them to read? It's so funny. You think that we've all moved on past listicles, and we haven't. Everybody loves a good listicle. So it's interesting. I think we'll continue to evolve what we're capable to do in that lean, mean, in-house team that I mentioned, but then also figure out where we can experiment a bit more.
We just go back to platform strategy again. You have your owned and operated. So you have your owned and operated platforms, and then there's external platforms that can use. Has there been a specific platform that you doubled down on during this time that you found engaging, that you thought, wow, this works. Let's double down here and see where it takes us. Has anything like that cropped up during this period?
Yeah, again, it's to our industry and to our client type. So again, if you're thinking about how we're professional services, we're a talent brand, we're selling design consultancy. I think what we do, first of all, we have, because of those owned channels, we've positioned ourselves with earned media in a way that has never been so successful before. We have a great agency of record that's helping us there, but that amplification has driven so much for us, so much opportunity for us. Interestingly, and this isn't, I wouldn't say we're the firm that's we're designing spaces for many of these companies, but we may not be on some of these platforms like a TikTok or others, but because that's not where our clients are. So it is interesting that something like LinkedIn, which is pretty that is straightforward as it gets, is a tremendous way for us to connect with our clients. But also understand that our clients are looking for a human connection to our firm as well. So they've got to see what Gensler's talking about, but then they want to know somebody who's saying it themselves. So that person driving out that message on LinkedIn is as important as the Gensler brand driving out that message as well. And then finally, I will say, as much as we do have content fatigue on webinars, that I would say when done well, and again, it's got to be great content delivered to a targeted, segmented audience, there's definitely a return on that for us.
How have you managed global marketing? I know we as a company and others, large global companies, at the beginning of the pandemic and right through to now, we've seen ups and downs in EMEA, in Asia Pacific, in LATAM, and then in the
Sure.
Americas. There's ups and downs. Markets open, markets close. Markets opens, markets close.
Right.
And we've all gone through that journey of the roller coaster. For you, have you identified, has this opened up any areas where you thought, oh my, wow, if we actually, EMEA is actually, a region that we can actually, increase our share of voice. We've found better ways to communicate. Because I agree to what you said earlier. If anything that has opened my eyes to the creative world is being on Zoom and Google Hangout every day. I am speaking to people in Milan and in Spain in the morning, where if I was in an office location in New York City, I might not have as much FaceTime or as engagement with employees to
Yeah.
discuss strategies in those markets. So has that opened up new opportunities on a global level for you that you probably were not able to see as a company when you were in office?
Yeah, I think so. I may answer this a different way than you even asked it. I think what's been tremendous for us with, again, the people are home, 6,000 offices now instead of 50. I think what's tremendous is us being able to have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in all of these markets. We always did, of course, but what's different about it now is that our strategy and our market positioning is so dependent on what's actually happening, to your point, in that local market. So is it open or is it closed? Are people quarantining in Abu Dhabi or are they not? What's happening in China? What's happening in Singapore? And so our connectivity with our people that are local, because we're local first and then global, is actually giving us an opportunity to say, oh, well, because that's happening in your market now, this is how we're going to be able to partner with you to give you the marketing tools that you need to reach your specific, Costa Rican clients or to reach your clients in Tokyo. And so I would say, so that partnership, that internal partnership with our, practitioners who are a do-it-seller model, has created more synergies than we've had before because we have to be in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, then we're fully out of the game.
Yeah. Well, finally, I have a last question. And then we're going to move on to some viewer questions. So, finally, as a marketeer, what do you think you've learned the most as a learning during this particular time that is a takeaway for you that you can inform some of our viewers about that's just you've learned?
I spoke with a professor of mine before COVID started. And I have a very vivid memory of where we were sitting having this conversation. And he said to me, I see my students come back and they want to show me these shiny presentations with all of this, data rich information, these dashboards. And I just look at them and say, well, what about the basics?
Right.
What about reaching the actual customer? And so that always sat with me. And then as we've been going through this time, when you feel like you could get spun on your head, and I said this before, now more than ever, it really is about good marketing basics. You can have so many shiny objects, and you can spend a whole lot of money and time and energy experimenting. But the bottom line is, if you know who you're talking to, if you've got it aligned with the outcomes that you're looking for, and you have a North Star because you've got a brand that you're working for that you believe in and you believe in their purpose, those are kind of the keys to success. And that's really just good marketing basics. So maybe what I've doubled down on is don't forget the basics.
That's a great answer. Love it. Okay, we're going to move to some questions. So we've got a few here. Here we go. What is top of mind as you prepare for the back half of 2020?
Such a great question. The top of mind is, I think, probably not sounding tone deaf. I think we spent a lot of time thinking about pandemic. I think we cannot forget that we also have to be thinking about social equity, justice, inclusion, and understanding that all of this, all of this in aggregate is us really trying to push ourselves to just be better, better humans. So I think that's truly top of mind.
Yeah, right. Next question. How are you determining where to spend time on emerging technologies?
I think that's leaning into it's leaning into the data that you're actually able to pull. So I think you really have to look at what is your scorecard, and what does it really mean to you? Is it showing you that you do need to move into emerging platforms, or is it showing that you need to double down in other places? I think that's where you become really reliant on ensuring that you have that you do have a strategy for that investment of both time and resources.
What's this one? How has your leadership style changed over the past few months? Have you been able to develop more personal relationships with your colleagues and partners?
Oh, such a good question. I would say I thrive on relationships in general. Probably my least favorite part of this is that there's that physicality of being with people, traveling to go see teams that aren't where I am, has been my own personal challenge. And so it's funny. I was on a call this morning about reimagining the future of work. Imagine that. And we all spoke about how we're not that we're now living at work, literally. And so because those relationships are so important to me, I have to figure out when I have to shut off, because I want to just keep talking to people, because you want to keep engaging. You don't want to miss that opportunity during the day. So there's that. But I would say overall, my leadership strategy has probably hasn't changed that much. It's just trying to do more in a very complicated time.
That's right. And then the last question, in terms of marketing and marketing spend for a company like yours, when planning a marketing budget for 2021, normally marketing budgets go up a percentage. Do you think during this time, most companies are realizing they can spend less to get more? What is your philosophy?
It's a great, well, you already answered the question. Whoever asked it already answered the question. No, I think we're all going to be challenged to stay flat or decrease, often decrease your budget, and do more. And so it's really, I remember I was one time, if you have $1, where are you going to spend it? I think about that dollar often. And so I think it's being much smarter about where you're using your dollars, what you're investing in, what you're asking your teams to do. Are you getting the most out of them? I think everybody's learning in this moment. So it may be that there are people on your team who you can invest more time in to get more talent out of. So opportunities all around.
And then one more question, which is like, post-pandemic, do you feel that you will move back to your traditional marketing strategies, or will you be adapting and amplifying new strategies you found successful during the pandemic?
1,000% adapting.
Adapting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Gensler recently produced a work from home survey. What were the most interesting insights and any surprises?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you to who asked that question. So that was the 12% data point that I referenced before, that only 12% of the workforce wants to stay at home. We're actually issuing a second round of that work from home survey, because if you think about it, I think that was released in April, and think about how much has changed since then. And so what I'm really interested to see is the delta on any of those questions and what has changed, because I think there's so many things that we have to realize. Like a couple weeks into COVID, we may still have liked our children, and we probably don't like them anymore. And so that's going to change your answers.
Exactly.
So things like that.
Exactly. Well, that's it. We seem to be out of the questions and out of time. I see Emily's just popped up there, so I don't want to run
There's our
over.
hook. Yeah.
Thank you
Leslie,
guys. Thank you.
thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jamie.
I definitely am not in the 12% that wants to stay home. So eager to get back in the office place. But thank you both for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, we're headed into our last session of the day, everyone. So we are thrilled to be joined by TJ McCormick.